Like, I think I had an idea of boldness. Like, you would never have fear. You would never lose your, like, courage. But I think you can, right? But you still power through and you still carry on and are bold in your trust in God. I didn't want to present myself as an unhappy Catholic. Like, living as a Catholic should be filled with just a great life.
You know what? I can really relate to what you're saying right now because, I mean, do you enjoy rejection?
No.
Yeah. I don't either. It's hard to find a good Catholic. Why do you think that is?
I have no idea. I don't know. But I have, like, definitely become a lot more content with my, with being single.
What would you say a good Catholic is?
That's a tough question. Someone who loves God before themselves, which is so hard to do. So I'm lucky enough, I teach at a Catholic school, and it's really important to me so that I can practice my faith. Like I mentioned, like I taught in public schools, and those have been great experiences as well. But I just think there's a richness and a treasure to teaching in a Catholic school as a Catholic, because you can share how fun it is to be a Catholic and how much joy there is in that.
At times we may doubt along the journey, but what do you think it takes to maintain that boldness?
I'm learning that. I'm going through that right now. I'm trying to hold that sustainability of keeping the faith, but I think it's just, it is very beautiful. It's very rich in its artwork. How did you find it? How did you find all this art? I'm super curious.
I just have a taste for it. Some of it found me.
Okay.
Some of it I found. Most of it found me. Like a lot of the stuff here, just different people
really
bringing these things into our lives. Some of it I found, like this one I found at Franciscan at my school.
Oh, nice.
And this one has especially a story because you may or may not have noticed the middle portion of it we have in a porcelain statue format. And that was gifted to me by a friend of mine, actually a former choir director of mine.
Oh, nice.
Who I saved his life. He almost died.
Oh, wow.
And I got him to the emergency room just in time to save his life.
Oh, wow.
And he gifted that to me.
The picture or the statue?
The statue.
Wow.
In appreciation. And I had it for years. And I had no idea that this is actually the original.
Yeah, that's I ask because I own a house now, and so I was
you gotta find some good stuff.
Really do that this summer. And
wait, when's your birthday?
July 7th.
Oh my goodness, it's coming right up. We're gonna have to get you a housewarming gift.
I know.
You know?
Oh, that would be so sweet.
Oh,
no need, but
what who are some of your favorite saints?
Favorite saints, definitely Saint Therese or Saint Bernadette or Saint Catherine of Siena. Recently, she's become a favorite of mine.
Oh, she's great. She's very bold.
Yes, but she's bold in like a not so bold way. I went to a women's Catholic conference a couple of weeks ago, and the lady there speaking was talking about St. Hildegard and St. Catherine of Siena and how they're both bold, but in different ways. Like St. Catherine was just like obedient all the time, loved God, very graceful, but bold in that, right? Following that obedience. But St. Hildegard was more, feisty and just bold with her voice and more rash.
Right.
So it was really nice to see that like you can still be bold, but you don't have to be like raging like a bull.
There's like a meek boldness.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Because obedience is bold.
Absolutely.
Following God's will.
I almost feel like this should be the start of the thing.
Yeah.
Should we start?
Oh, I thought we had.
Welcome to the Rich Dawn, where eternal beatitude begins in this life. I'm Kyle Dean, and today I have with me Whitney Blackley, a educator, a practicing Catholic, and a bold single. And here we are as a Rich Dawn first. We already started. So how you been?
Good. It is my first night out. I'm officially on break as a teacher. Summer is here.
Yes. Congratulations. So how long have you been an educator for?
I have been teaching for 8 years. I was teaching at 3 different Catholic schools, and then I taught at a public school as well.
Awesome, awesome. And yeah, so I mean, we just kind of like naturally got into it. You're asking about the different sacred art that we have here in the studio, and we touched on boldness. I know that that'll end up being a theme for tonight's conversation. What was your early life like, and what made you gravitate towards education?
So I grew up as the oldest of nine, and I just naturally always enjoyed every new baby coming. I was never jealous. I was never wanting of my parents' attention. I was just super excited to welcome a new baby into our family. And I think I just naturally became a caregiver. Um, and at one point, my parents also had fostered and adopted. And so just my love for children grew naturally.
That's super cool. You're the first of nine?
First of nine, yeah. I have three younger sisters and four younger brothers.
Well, praise the Lord.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So a strong Catholic family,
Mm-hmm.
I'm imagining. And so how did that end up having an impression on you in terms of education?
I think I just naturally gravitated toward education. I don't remember going and just like really having, like people would ask me like, why did you choose education? Or I never really had a life story. Like I always kind of wish I did, but I think over time I just realized it was just like my natural gift. Like I just enjoy being with kids. So there wasn't some long story of like growing up and wanting to be a doctor and like playing school. Like I never played school as a kid. I just enjoyed kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and having eight younger siblings, that
Mhm.
speaks for itself, right? That's what did it. So, what grade range have you taught throughout the years?
I have taught from pre-K to seventh grade. I truly never thought I would be in middle school. Never imagined it. I was there for 1 year. And it was fine. I did not have any issues with it. The kids were great. It was sixth and seventh. They were just super excited, still silly. They still wanted to be kids, which was what I was afraid of. I thought like, you get nervous hearing middle school, the like angsty age, but they were just genuinely still excited about school. My favorite grade ever is probably first grade. They're just so young and so just curious all the time. They're always moving. I taught that for 4 years.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's awesome. And yeah, there's definitely a big difference between first grade and seventh grade. I've had the great opportunity to be. I've served second graders. I've served middle schoolers. Spent time in a high school, and have done other education. But it takes really a heart for children to be able to be in some of the younger grades, because really all they want is to be loved.
Mm-hmm.
That's like what
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of noticed. Would you agree with that assessment?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They just want you to be able to hear them and give them time to finish their sentences. I remember I was in a program aide at a school, and I was just observing, and one of the teachers at the school, she'd been there for years. She just made a comment that was like, not to me, like indirectly. I think she just said like, the kids just want to speak or they just want to be heard. And so it kind of stuck with me, and just kind of over the years, like giving the kids a chance to speak up. Because I think, at least for me, like growing in education as a teacher, I was always so nervous that I wasn't going to get the lesson in, or if I didn't, quiet the kid down right away, or just have such a regimented management system that like they were just going to take control of me. Like the classroom would be chaos. But what's funny is like the more relaxed and like confident and comfortable I became, like the more relaxed they were. So like the energy that I would give off to them as like being content with letting them finish speaking, they like picked up on that. And so it just became more of I just built a better rapport with them.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I mean, you're employing mirror neurons, right? Like what you put out is what you receive back. But then also you're kind of touching on, I think that's counterintuitive for some people, because when, they're younger, you get people that they kind of like they raise their voice when they're
Mm-hmm.
talking to kids.
Mm-hmm.
They just totally shift their approach with kids. And what you're saying is no, like almost like treat them like, I don't know if little adults is how you would qualify it, but like, just treat them with dignity and respect,
Mhm,
and you end up
mhm.
getting like a different outcome than if you don't do that.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely have horror stories where I definitely would like raise my voice or just approach it in the wrong way, thinking that everything had to be super, um, for lack of a better word, harsh, which it's not. It's just the bottom line is like just that dignity again and just staying confident because they can pick up on whether or not you're calm and cool with what's going on.
Yeah, 100%. And, at that younger age, I guess, you think that they just want to be loved, but they're testing,
Mhm.
right? They test for the boundaries.
Yeah.
They test for, like what they can get away with or whatever. So, yeah, I really appreciate your wisdom in that regard. What else have you picked up over the years in terms of like education style, or what is it that made you gravitate to first grade over, say, seventh grade, or even maybe focusing on high school? Or is that something that you're open to as well?
I've never thought about high school, mainly because I don't have a degree in that, and so I wouldn't be certified to teach it.
Sure.
But I've always loved the first graders. I currently am teaching fourth and fifth grade right now. I haven't taught first grade in a little while, but I just love where I am. Like I'm one of those teachers where like you could give me the grade and I wouldn't complain. I would just take it and make it my own. So it's funny. Like this year my favorite grade is 4 or 5, but like years ago it was first. So um
Well, that speaks to a certain resilience, like the ability to,
adaptability,
yeah,
maybe just adapting to where I'm at.
yeah,
So
100%, and just loving people
and
for
just
who
I
they
think
are.
there was one teacher that was stood out to me too. I kind of modeled after her. She kind of just went along with the class. Like you kind of learn as you go. And sometimes that can feel scary as a teacher, like kind of letting go of those reins and just seeing how the class pans out. But just I've learned that more in like surrendering the control of the class, you just a much more calm environment, and it just you truly enjoy the teaching. There's definitely an art to teaching, so I'm hoping that one day I master that art skill. But yeah, it's really a lot about just surrendering that control.
That's super interesting.
So
I know there's like a buzzword nowadays. I don't know how you feel about it, but like child-led parenting. I know some people say like it's the way to go. It almost intuitively what you're describing makes me think of that. But then I hear other people say it should be parent-led because they're the leaders or whatever. But I don't know. I guess maybe it could be like a tomato thing. At the end of the day, it just seems like something that might seem counterintuitive ends up being the thing that works.
yeah, and I don't want to speak to like parents because I'm not a parent. So like I truly I don't feel comfortable giving that justice. Like I wouldn't be able to answer that well. But I think it kind of brings me back to the word love. Like God's love for us is overflowing, right? Like an ocean of mercy, but like his love is merciful, right? And so like I always think like love is discipline too. So like when I was growing up, like my dad loves me, but he disciplined me. So I think that's sort of what I mean. Like there's still discipline in my class. Like I'm still disciplining them. It's just in the love that makes the difference. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Absolutely. And it led me to think of this, like, what is the dynamic like as a single, collaborating with the parents to give children the best education that they can have? Like, have you found some best practices in that regard? Like, because I know just in general, obviously we're not going to touch on specific schools or anything in this podcast, but as an educator myself and being involved in those spaces, sometimes you'll get these parents that are super engaged, super involved, collaborative, and then some that are maybe more distant. So what has your experience been in that regard?
I think a lot of my experience has come from growing up in a large family, and some of my siblings were homeschooled. Some of them went to school. Some of them did both. And so just like watching my parents experience my siblings go to school and like seeing them on the receiving end of teachers has really helped me too. So as a teacher, like what my parents would be emailed, or like how my sibling teachers communicated with my parents was really helpful to me, because I could see where maybe the stressors were, or where the parents could be interpreting it one way and the teacher would be interpreting it the other way. So my hope, like as an educator, like that had helped me like see where the parents are coming from, and just building a relationship from that. And just wanting the best for their child.
Well, and that speaks to the gift of empathy, right? Like the capacity to put yourself in the shoes of another, whatever their role is in relationship to the dynamic. And the more able you are to do that, then obviously, typically the better outcomes you're going to get. And I think it's really perceptive of you as well, growing up as a kid, that you were aware of those things. Like in your own family, you were like, this is something that I'm like interested in. I feel like there's a lot of kids that maybe wouldn't have that kind of focus, and which probably speaks to how this was like your calling.
Yeah. No, I really do love it. I love all of my students. It's fun. It's a great career.
Yeah, no doubt. I know you're practicing Catholic. I mean, obviously, I'm sure implicitly that informs maybe your approach, your teaching style, even maybe. But like, does it explicitly as well, or like, how would you say that your faith informs the way that you teach?
So I'm lucky enough. I teach at a Catholic school, and it's really important to me that I teach at a Catholic school so that I can practice my faith openly, right, and share that with kids. And so I've been more bold this year in just sharing my faith with them. And for example, like during our morning meeting, we would share one thought and then have a prayer request at the end, and then I'll pray a Hail Mary. And just being able to share in that and pray together is something that I really enjoyed, and something like as a witness of faith to the kids. And on like St. Joseph's feast day, we did like a St. Joseph's table. And so I was able to incorporate the families, were able to send in any meals that they wanted to like create our table. And it's just, I mentioned, like I've taught in public schools, and those have been great experiences as well. But I just think there's a richness and a treasure to teaching in a Catholic school as a Catholic, because you can share how fun it is to be a Catholic and how much joy there is in that. And I made a point this year of sharing the feast days with my kids, and we had parties, and we celebrated All Saints Day. We dressed up and we did presentations, and we prayed the Divine Mercy Chaplet on like following that Divine Mercy Sunday. We did that on Monday, and just there's so many treasures in teaching in a Catholic school that I did not imagine coming my way. It just sort of like crept up on me, and I just the more I grew in my faith as an adult, the more I could see that like planting these seeds of faith in my students at such a young age, so that like hopefully down the line they might look back one day and be like, oh yeah, I remember having St. Joseph's table, and just sort of like kind of like I don't know, looking back on that and appreciating the faith in a time maybe they aren't appreciating it, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've as many of the viewers and listeners already know, I've been the minister general of a young adult ministry for going on a decade now, and aging out soon. But and so our mission is the new evangelization. It's to kind of like re-evangelize Catholics from anywhere from like lukewarm to on fire, and to have community in that regard. And so we're acutely aware of the statistics. Like a lot of times it's by the age of 14 that kids just lose their faith. If they didn't already have good formation up until that point. So what you're doing in your career is so needed. It is like laying that literal foundation to set somebody up for the rest of their life.
I hope so. I'm learning too, though. Like seeing their faith grow and just those seeds being planted is very encouraging to me.
Yeah.
And I enjoy sharing that with them. The class I had was so sweet. We I taught them when you hear like an ambulance or an EMT or like a fire truck that we should all pray a Hail Mary. And they learned that. And then when they would ever hear one, they would like announce in class that there was a siren and we all stopped and prayed a Hail Mary. And so
Yes.
um, my hope would be that they would carry that on or think about that often
I can
as they got older.
I can sense in what you're saying. It's almost like they help you grow in your faith too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yes, there's
How
so many
cool is
things
that?
that I learned from them.
No way.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. I mean, I wish I had like a great example. I think, again, it's just that surrender of when you do surrender that control, um, then the students have room to grow.
Well, and I would imagine too that when it develops in a way that you could obviously when you cede control, you have no idea what to expect. And
Mhm.
then when it goes well, you can see the grace of God in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my goodness, that's super cool. And so I have to ask this because obviously, you've identified that you grew up in a very devout Catholic
Mhm.
family and and your faith is a big part of your life and you have gratitude that as it stands right now you're in an overtly Catholic school and you're able to have your faith be shared publicly. What would you say to somebody that would just hear that and say, oh, well, she's just Catholic because that's all she's ever known? Like, obviously, I know that's not true, but but can you speak to that? Like, what is it that makes you excited about being Catholic?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, I think I think that excited about being Catholic. I think that's something that I've grown into appreciating my faith more. I like Jesus has always like I've always had a strong faith, but I was kind of a faith that was just there. Like it was just on the shelf. Like it wasn't like didn't disrespect it. I just like didn't really it wasn't like tangible to me
It's almost like brushing
until
your teeth.
yeah, like it was just like I think you call that cradle Catholic, I believe.
Yes.
Um and I think that's just like sort of who I was. I was a good kid. Like, I mean, I didn't really do anything outrageous. I always listened to my parents, followed the rules. And it just kind of became, it just like flatlined, like just never
So
really had any like ups and downs.
maybe autopilot.
Autopilot. Yeah. That's, I think what I'm thinking of. But like, as I got older or like in like relationships or in careers and just like meeting different people, um, I just saw how the faith always gave me the answers I was looking for, um, and just something that I could rely on. I think part of what I hope to instill in my students is that, like, like I I don't want them to ever think that God's some judge that's looking down on them. Um, And I would hope to be able to instill like some sort of trust because I think trust is something I've tried to work on in my life as well.
What I think you're exemplifying in real time is that moment that we have in our lives because I grew up Catholic as well, a little bit of a different upbringing than you've had, for sure. Didn't have two parents under one roof, so there was some brokenness there, but still like identified as Catholic. It was more cafeteria Catholic than maybe cradle Catholic, properly said. But there comes that point when you become an adult, especially, where it has to mean something more to you than
Mhm.
just all you ever knew. Like
Yeah.
it has to. And I
Yeah.
think you nailed it when you said like it it showed up for me. Like it became something that was truly reliable. In other
Mhm.
words, it's almost like the proof is in the pudding. And, would you say that that's what's ultimately going to be instilled in the children is that it's a relationship?
Yes, that's the relationship is important. And I while you were talking, I started remembering like there were moments when I would like especially in dating, it's very I it's just hard to find a solid Catholic um to date. And I was thinking like, I I shouldn't. And there would be times when I'd be like, maybe I would be rejected or something wouldn't work out, like because of faith, right? And I would get, maybe a little mopey or just unhappy in the moment, right? Because it didn't work out. But I was like, I shouldn't be like that. I should be like proud of my faith. Like I guess I want to be able to like show that living the Catholic life is filled with joy and happiness. And like I think I just got to one point one day where I didn't want to present myself as an unhappy Catholic. Like living as a Catholic should be filled with just a great life.
You know what? I can really relate to what you're saying right now because, I mean, do you enjoy rejection?
No. Yeah.
I don't either. And obviously, I don't think any like rational, sane person does, of course, hopefully, right? So there are those moments of weakness, whatever you want to call it, brokenness in terms of my upbringing, or, sorrow. It's a part of life as well. But even those moments are moments where the faith comes through. Mm-hmm. And it helps us to carry through. And it's a lot, it can be a lot of weight on our shoulders to try to like have to exemplify mm-hmm. what we want the faith to be for other people if it's not authentically what we're feeling in a given moment. I mean, we're in the valley of tears.
Yeah, that's
you know what
true.
I mean? So, yeah. That takes the pressure off, but also it's, it goes back to relationship, right? Because you said trust. I want to instill trust in my students. And that's what relationships are built on. Mm-hmm. Relationships are built on trust, which is built upon goodwill. Mm-hmm. And, and that's what brings authenticity. So it sounds like, and you've experienced the complete package with that. Like you've experienced all of those things throughout your faith journey. And so, but you just touched on something interesting too. Like, it's hard to find a good Catholic. Why do you think that is?
I have no idea. I don't know. But I have like definitely become a lot more content with my, with being single.
Right, state in life.
Yeah, your state in life. Yes.
What would you say a good Catholic is?
That's a tough question. Good Catholic, someone who loves God before themselves, which is so hard to do. But that's something that I recently have been trying to work harder at is to being charitable. And I think it's hard, like you want that relationship for the goodwill of the other person. And I think sometimes in my past, like I've just wanted it because I really wanted a boyfriend or I really wanted a relationship, but I would never like fully include God in the equation. Like there could have been maybe some like red flags or, things that clearly weren't going to work out, but like I just kept pursuing that relationship, which would be, I feel like, uncharitable, right? Because you're not putting God in there in the picture.
Well, I really appreciate the authenticity with which you answered that. I mean, there's also, obviously loneliness is, a difficult thing to manage, and it requires trusting God first in order to live up to the definition that you just defined. What's I think paradoxical and interesting about what you said is that defining what a good Catholic is isn't what's hard. It's simple. It's like we complicate things as people, but it's, having that right relationship, having the right order of relationship, putting God first. Yeah. But then it's like you just said, it's in the doing that makes that so hard. It's okay. We can identify what it is, which is important to be able to do. Right. Some people, they get hung up on that part, but then it's like the follow through. It's like, okay, how do I take this from the head to the heart? And so it requires the utmost authenticity for ourselves, but then to find that in the other as well. And of course, in a faith-based relationship dynamic, the man is supposed to be the leader, the head. And so you have to find, I guess, even yokedness in that regard as well. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So where are these good men out here? Like we need them. I know they're out there. I know they're good, but but it requires that formation.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
It
Yeah.
requires that proper formation. We just need to figure out, like, if any of these schools that you're teaching at, were they around back when we were that age? Because I bet that would be where the formation would be.
Oh, right, right, right.
You see?
Yeah, there's a quote out there that's like something about going to Catholic school. Like the purpose of a Catholic school is for the kids to stay Catholic or something. I don't know what it is, but it's like that is something that I would love to strive for, is like if I have a student attending the Catholic school, I would hope that I would instill something in them that they can carry for the rest of their lives as a Catholic.
Well, and I just want to, express gratitude that the school that you teach at allows for that.
Yeah.
Because that in and of itself, it can be a challenge to find in today's culture. You have, just like an upbringing like my own family that, maybe identifies as Catholic, but's not living it. You can get that at the institutional level as well, where it says, hey, we're a Catholic school, but whatever faith you express, maybe they don't say wear it on your sleeve, or maybe they don't care or mind. It's just a numbers game. But the fact that you have this opportunity to do that truly is a calling. That's a calling. Wow. How do you quantify that? I guess we're called to, like, plant the seeds, but God has to water them.
Yes. And that kind of brings me a little bit back to being single. I only hold myself accountable. Like I don't have anyone to, tell me what to eat or when to go to bed or how late to stay out or up. And being with my students in school, I was praying one day with them in morning meeting, and with our morning meetings, we would all share something and then like end it with a prayer request. And it was just like a casual day, and I was praying along with them. And it kind of like struck me. I was like, I should really make sure that I'm living an authentic Catholic life, because here I am teaching these kids the Hail Mary and praying with them. And, in a sense, like I started realizing that they can kind of hold me accountable to live a good to be a good Catholic outside of school.
I think more people had that approach, if they had that mentality, that perspective, we'd have a pretty nice world that we would live in.
Yeah. No, I fall short some days for sure, but it's a good
gut check, soul check.
Yeah, good reality check.
Yeah, 100%. And thanks be to him for being so merciful, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously he meets us where we are. You had mentioned how you've been focusing on boldness more of late, like in the last few years. I think I remember us talking offline. You said, you'd hang up rosaries. Is it outside of the classroom?
Yes. So I tried this year to be more bold in my faith with small things. So outside of my classroom, I got a gold rosary, very pretty, and previously at a different school, I had seen a teacher hang rosary outside of her classroom. And I don't know, for some reason this year I was like, I'm just going to try it because Mary's protecting us, always. But I was like, that's a bold outward statement that she is a visual. And there wasn't like any like comments, like a couple of people said it was pretty. But it just like it made me feel like, it was kind of that step in faith, showing God I was confident in his trust, and like making like to me, that was a bold act of faith. Like I know it's really small and it's just a rosary like hanging outside, but like I think adding up the little steps at a time can lead to something bigger. There was like someone said once, like but like God will, like if he can trust you with like the smallest thing, then he can trust you with a bigger thing. Or I just think you grow gradually in your faith and like step out in confidence. And that was very confident for me.
It reminds me of our morality as well, Catholic morality, because just as imperfections lead to venial sins, lead to mortal sins, on the converse of that, it's like when you take great care in little things, not like in a scrupulous way, but just in a very like organic flowing way, it leads to small acts that have big love, and then big acts with big
Mhm.
love.
Mhm.
And it also allows us to live in the moment, because like presence of God, right? There's this, I'm trying to remember his name right now, but I think like Brother Lawrence, the Carmelite. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
Mhm.
His whole thing was presence of God, just presence of God. Like,
Mhm.
like you've got some of these like juggernauts in the faith in terms of like mystics or theologians, like a Saint Augustine or a
Mhm.
Saint Thomas Aquinas, and doctors of the church. And then you've got like a Therese of Lisieux, also a doctor of the
Mhm.
church, and she just has the little way, do little things with great love. And Brother Lawrence as well, like his whole thing is just focus on the presence of God. Like when you're with those kids, if you're thinking about how Mary is present with
Mhm.
that rosary being there, it can inform the way that you encounter them. It can inform the letting go and letting God,
Mhm.
letting Mary, seeing how they end up acting or behaving
Mhm.
when you relinquish control. And if we can take that kind of a spirituality into everything we do in our lives,
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
clock,
Yeah.
off the clock, when no one's looking,
Yeah.
right? As a single, you
Yeah.
mentioned not, having anyone to hold you accountable. Maybe can you speak more to that? Like, because that's a challenge. I feel like that's something that a lot of people can relate to. Or maybe a lot of people are going through that, but they don't even identify the challenge of it, or the fact that from God's perspective, there's a specific way that he would like to have a say in the way that we
Sure.
live our lives.
Sure. So probably this year I've just tried to become more um active in being single. I think it's so easy to just come home from work and, eat your food and read a book or watch TV and veg out and then just go to bed, right? It's just like something I would do that like, 3 days out of the week, just be tired from work. And it's just easy to just relax and not do a lot. But just this year, I um, tried to hold myself more accountable. I signed up for like an online book club. It was like a Catholic women's book club, and just like taking time out of my day to do other things, or just going on little trips on my own, as a single, and just being more active in living my life. And even though no one's going to be saying like, oh, you should go do this or that, trying to just actively pursue that. And that also involved like, getting outside of my head, or like outside of myself, and go volunteering. I did do a lot of volunteering at St. Luke's, and just helping others really builds that gratitude that you can just remind you of how grateful you should be and that you can help and serve others.
Yeah, 100%. I love St. Luke's.
Mhm.
By the way, we've both served them before. They're one of the foremost, food pantry and just healing ministries by virtue of being there for the community, and in the part of town that can use that kind of help. And whether it's at St. Luke's or whether it's wherever you are, that's a huge life hack, actually. I have a number of people that I work with, and, we talk sometimes about, whether it's, loneliness. Other people, they just straight up, they mention like, there's 7 deadly sins. Every single one of us struggles with at least one of them throughout our lives. Sometimes envy comes up.
Mhm.
And I've found that, when people focus on the gratitude attitude, I mean, pride is the root of all sins.
Mhm.
And so no matter what it is, it's pride,
Yeah.
right? For all of
Yeah.
us. And the gratitude basically, it cuts right to the root.
Yeah.
Because if we're focused on, ourselves, either, because we want something different out of life, um, or because we just don't care about other people. Clearly, that's not you.
Uh-huh.
But for whatever it is, wherever somebody happens to be, where they really need God to
Mhm.
speak to them in those areas of weakness, um, gratitude is one of the most powerful remedies. Like you could just think about what are the things that are going well in my life,
Mhm.
or what are the things that I have now that if I didn't have them, would I still have a good relationship with God?
Mhm.
That's stuff that challenges me like crazy.
Yeah.
Like, like our health, whatever it is that we might take for granted. And so, yeah, I remember when I started to really get involved with charity, and it was one of the best things that I ever did. It's
Mhm.
like one of the best things I ever did. So I really resonate with what you're saying right now. Um,
And I'm kind of thinking back to what you said about a relationship, and I think it just never ends, right? I just think, like, even if I found, like, my future husband tomorrow, but, like, the charity, though, would never end, right? I feel like we're always called to be the hand and feet of Christ, right? Like, we're always supposed to be helping out our brother or sister in Christ, and it's just, like, an ongoing process until we reach heaven, right? It just kind of hit me right now. Like, it's just charity never ends, right? Because God's love for us never ends. And so we should always be reaching for that, right? To share God's love with others. Even if we get that, top of the mountain moment where you get that, job or that spouse or that child, I don't know, you just, and life goes on, like charity keeps going on. Um, because we all are all relational, right? We should all be trying to get the next person to heaven, like help our neighbor get to heaven. Um, so yeah.
Thank you for that wisdom, Josh. That's super. I think that's it.
Well, yeah.
Because we get caught up in the mundanity of life.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of like a recurring theme of what you're saying right now, right? Like, okay, growing up, it's like the faith is what I knew, the faith is what we practiced. Then as I get older, it's like, I have it almost there on the shelf.
Mhm.
Now I got to dust off that shelf.
Yeah.
I have to reinvigorate. I have to
Right.
revitalize this relationship.
Yeah.
And it's not ever wanting on the part of God. It's always wanting on the part of us.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But then, whenever you're other focused, because we're made for love. We're made for self-gift
Hmm.
as relational beings, as people. That's how God, made us in his own image and likeness.
Yeah.
That's how he made us. So, when we're made for the other, it's what allows us to become fully human.
Hmm.
It's what allows us to flourish. It's what allows us to become most who we were called to be.
Hmm.
So yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And that requires a choice.
Oh,
With
absolutely.
every moment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. But just seeing God in other people is helpful too.
What
Seeing
was
them as a gift.
what was it you said in about the last year I started really intentionally doing that?
I don't know. I wish I knew.
Interesting. Oh, it's
I
great.
wish I could pinpoint one moment in my life, but I think I just got kind of over it. Like I just was like, I haven't found the right guy yet. Um, and everything in my career was going really well. Like I loved all my jobs. I loved the kids I worked with. And I think I just put so much energy into that and just filled that cup. And I just continued doing that in my personal life too. And I just started trusting more in different experiences. Um, I just think I decided one day, you just have to live your life, right? Because it's a gift.
Right. And that's all that there is to do.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, overcomplicate it. It's just
well, that's what we're good at.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, and I think you really touched on it a little bit earlier, right? There was some dating experiences where it was it's almost like I'm doing this for the wrong reason. It's not like I'm a bad person or anything, but
right.
That it's I was putting, if I can use this language, making an idol out of wanting to have a relationship for the sake of having a relationship.
Yeah.
Over prioritizing God first,
Mhm.
making sure the other guy's evenly yoked in terms of his
Yes.
relationship with
Yeah.
God, making sure that, and that's when you have that aha moment where it's you know what? It's only ever going to happen organically anyway.
Yes. Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah. That's truly been my life this year. Just living for God and there's days that I'm like, "Oh, I'm so great. Like, I'm doing such a good job." But then, there's those days when you wanna erase. But, I don't know, it's just like it's an adventure. Like, growing up, I always heard, like, "Life's an adventure with God." Like, it just sounds so cheesy, but it's not. Like, there is just so much to life, and just, again, like, just seeing God in other people, and, being relational.
Yeah. Yeah, you're bringing me back. I don't know why, but there was this like Monsignor who was like the MC for Pope Francis. And, I was in Rome one time and we just found him on the streets. And it was a pilgrimage. So we had like a guide who translated
Mhm.
from the Italian, and he was like, "Oh, this is, um, you know, could you give a blessing to these people?" And he was like, the one thing he said to us was, all of life is a pilgrimage.
Mhm.
Don't ever
Mhm.
forget that.
Mhm.
Like, this is not our final
Mhm.
destination. And just those simple words, like you said, like sometimes something can sound almost hokey or cheesy or like
Mhm.
cliche, but I don't know why. It was just the right thing probably because it was like, whoa, this is Monsignor Guido.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like a bishop now. But like, you know, it was just to remember that this isn't your final destination.
Well,
Live accordingly.
yes, no, I remember I listened once in a while to, the Franciscan friars. I think it's Saint Mark, or not Saint, Father Mark Mary, or Brother Mark Mary, and he always ends his podcast that I had been listening to with, like, "We're pilgrims on this earth," and, like, I had heard that over years, but I just don't think I really thought about that until maybe a year ago, that, like, we truly are, like, we're just pilgriming through this valley of tears, right? And our final destination is heaven. And if you keep that in mind, if you try to keep that in mind, it does change your day and how you live your life.
And that speaks to living boldly.
Mhm.
So what other things other than, hanging the rosary, having this mentality, making sure to be intentional with your free time, what would you say, like, what sparked the boldness aspect of it in general, or like what in particular are some other things that you've been doing or that you think that you will do
Hmm.
that are
Well,
still on the docket for the pilgrimage?
something that really sparked my interest was I watched this movie. It's called The Unsung Hero. It's a Christian-based film, and the
Mm,
family is a real family. Have you ever heard of Rebecca St. James?
I have
She's
not.
the singer, Christian singer. Have you heard of King and Country? Their
Yes.
family. So their father was a music producer in Australia, and he somehow, I believe he lost out on a deal. Somehow he lost a ton of money. And so they traveled to the America, and in that film it just goes through how they had no money, and through their faith, several people came and helped them, built up the community. And in the film, the mom was the unsung hero. Like, she held the family together when they were going through everything. And she had the kids build this wall of a please, it's a please and thank you wall. So they would, like, write on index card, like, "Please God, like, help my dad find a job," or, get food on the table, or because they had moved in to a house that had no furniture. So they just slept on their clothes. But then there was a thank you wall where it was like, once they got that food, they would move that index card over to the thank you wall. And it was very inspiring to me. Like, I'm definitely like a sap for movies like that. Like, I
Yes.
just, I probably am way too sappy for them, but they're just inspiring because that was a true story. Like, these are real people that went through that. And just seeing that mom's boldness and, like, believing that God would provide without a doubt. Like, they showed moments of, like, it was hard and upsetting for them, but, like, they still powered through it. And I think that is what, like, I think I had an idea of boldness, like, you would never have fear, you would never lose your, like, courage, but I think you can, right? But you still power through and you still carry on and are bold in your trust in God. Um, yeah, so
What that reminds me of, thank you for sharing that. That sounds super inspirational. I gotta
it
watch that
was so
now.
good, yeah.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
I'm
good.
in it. It reminds me of St. Paul said about how in my weakness I'm made strong.
Mhm.
Like our faith is just riddled with paradox. It's like things that it's like by death you will live. Like it's like
Mhm.
what? Like
Yeah, yeah.
and but it's our weakness that makes us strong, right? Like so even though uh there's going to be those moments of weakness, that doesn't mean that it's not boldness. Like
Yes.
you're
Yeah.
saying, it's the capacity to persevere, it's the
Mhm.
capacity to continue on, it's the capacity to say yes, to trusting God. You said, that they had no doubt. Like, I mean, even one of the apostles, Thomas, was like an example of the fact that at times we may doubt along the journey. But what do you think it takes to maintain that boldness?
I'm learning that. I'm going through that right now. I'm trying to hold that sustainability of keeping the faith, but I think it's just stopping throughout the day and just like thinking about just how God's been present, and just like truly intentionally stopping and just looking around yourself, seeing what's going on and just noticing that, and um just pursuing God in the everyday life.
Presence of God.
Mhm.
Presence of God, that he's truly present, that he's truly there. I really appreciate the simplicity of that. There was something that we had talked about recently. You had mentioned something that absolutely blew my mind. It was like um, about relationships. Like
Sure.
we complicate them, but at the end of it, like we complicate sin.
Mhm.
That's what you said. It's we complicate sin, but it's actually super, super simple. It's all about a relationship. And, when you're sinning, you're ultimately sinning against Christ.
Right.
And if you're truly in relationship with him, or with whoever you love, you don't want to hurt them.
Right. Yeah, that it was sort of came to my mind, because I'll be teaching religion next year to some of my students, and I was just trying to figure out how to approach certain topics, and topic of sin I'm a little nervous about just because it kind of has a taboo around it. Um, just don't be sinful or don't sin or mortal and venial sin, like,
Yeah.
um and just it sounds scary, right? But tried, like, for me to reason with it, like the person I love the most, right? Like my best friend, or, a sibling or a parent, like I would never want to intentionally hurt them, because that would just be painful for me too, right? If you hurt someone. And so I just started thinking, like, just the way that, like, our relationship with God, right? He doesn't want to hurt us, and his out of his love for us, he has commandments and rules. And, once in a while we will fall and we will sin, but like it's just letting go of that fear of sinning and just realizing, like, he just needs, like, you to be genuinely sorry, and to amend your life and to do better, but not to be so fearful of that.
Right. I have so much gratitude that people like you are in our lives. Because for me, like I can get cerebral sometimes with it. Like I go big with heady with the theology, but that's not necessary. That's not going to be the approach for kids in first grade, second grade, fourth grade, fifth grade. Um,
But I
it,
do remember there was a time at my church, I was in the confession line. There was just this little boy who had just made a first communion, and he was in line, and it just sort of like struck me, like he just it seemed so simple. Like he was just going to say he was sorry, and that just sort of is what took on that simplicity for me, was um how could you not forgive like a little child like that? Like, and it's kind of like, how could God, like, I feel like as an adult I'm like, oh my gosh, God's like probably so annoyed with me, like I'm 33 years old and like I should know better by now, right? But like to him we're children, like we're little children, and like I could never not forgive a 6-year-old. So it's just, again, that's just like that simple. um
See, that gives me so much hope. I needed to hear that
yeah,
because the way into heaven is through the mind of a child.
yeah,
I don't know how much I think about how as adults, not only should we be like that, but we can be like that.
yeah.
Like that you're allowed to be like that.
Hmm.
You almost have to like choose to be like that. And I think a lot we complicate that. For some reason we get in the way of that. I don't know why that is.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Huh. Interesting. Well, so what would you say, um, either to one of your, well, yeah, I want to say to one of your students, because I feel like you're really touching on some profound wisdom through the utter simplicity of the mind of a child here. What happens if someone's like, I don't believe in God? Or like, or in order for me to believe in trust and relationship and everything that basically we're saying right now, what we're grounded in terms of what we believe, it has to be a personal God, right? Because if there's going to be a relationship, it's with a
Mhm.
person. And if somebody is struggling with that or doubting that or just outright not at a place of believing that, what does that even like look like from a
So
from a child's perspective?
so I have a storybook. It's I forgot the name. It's about Mary. Um and it talks about how present Mary is and real she is. So I went to there's something called Wine for Women. It's like women in the new evangelization. So I had gone to a retreat, like a not even a retreat, like a night when the speaker came. The speaker had written a book about Mary, and the reason for the book was because her niece had gone to school and kids were making fun of her niece for wearing a Mary necklace. And the aunt, the speaker, like was very good friends with a priest. And so she wrote to the priest and the priest created this book based off of the letter. And it just sort of talked about how his history was real. So like George Washington was real, right? We believe he was real, but we never met him. Or we believe that like our ancestors are real, but like we never actually met them. And so if we can believe that all of these things from history books are real, why can't we believe that Mary was real? Or why can't we believe that God was real? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more depth to that question. I mean, and answer, but that's one example that I can think of is just all, we believe in so many different things. Why can't we believe in the one true God?
Yeah, yeah. No, that makes a ton of sense. And that's where I would, I would come in with, the receipts, the evidence, the archaeology, everything that we saw. And when I was in Jerusalem, you can literally see the Golgotha rock, the Calvary rock.
Hmm.
It's got a giant split in it from when the earthquake happened.
Hmm.
And they've dated it to like circa 33 AD, like when that happened. And I don't know. You could probably explain that to fourth or fifth grader. I think that that's something that they can connect with from the
Hmm.
historical aspect of it. But at the end of the day, it's also, it goes back to that trust, you know?
Hmm.
And, but yeah, it's recognizing that it's a personal relationship is key, right?
Hmm.
Because that's what kind of like, that's what sets our faith apart from the other belief systems that are out there, whether it's a philosophy, whether it's a theology. And yeah, it just, I think that the older we get, the more complicated we make it.
Yeah, 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 definitely. Yeah, you do.
So you mentioned how important your faith is to you. One thing that I know, just offline, is that, tradition is important to you.
Hmm.
Um, can you speak maybe a little bit more to that? Like what, um, do you think that all different uh, faith expressions are the same, or would you say that there's kind of like a spectrum there in terms of like people that are more focused on tradition or people that are focused on different kinds of liturgy, or and how that maybe informed or informs your own perspective or outlook on life?
Yeah, so I have been attending the traditional Latin mass for at least like 12, 13 years now, for as long as I can remember. And at first I was, a little bit taken aback. Like there's these ladies, they wear these veils, everything is like chanted, and there's like smoke and incense. And so it's definitely, if you've never been to a Latin mass, it's definitely sort of a shock, right? But there's such a sacredness to it that I think a lot of people truly desire, and could really benefit from. It's kind of it's kind of a way to get away. It's a place to get away from the noise of the world, right? And so it's just a lot of mental prayer, and it just really brings to light how beautiful the faith is and how reverent we really truly should be. I don't know what kind of Catholic I would be without the Latin Mass. Um, it's really a time for meditation and just realizing God's love for you, because I think the Latin Mass speaks to how present he truly is. Like, there's no doubt in your mind that God's present when you attend a Latin Mass.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I actually just passed the 10-year anniversary myself. So a similar amount of time, similar amount of exposure. And yeah, as somebody who's really, I love that you went to mental prayer with it, because that's actually kind of my number one way of introducing it to people. It is a culture shock,
Mhm.
as you had mentioned, if you're not used to it. It's certainly distinct from the Novus Ordo expression, which is the more common expression that most people think of in the West when they think of Catholicism today. But, the smells, the bells, as we say, like
Mhm.
all of your senses are engaged, and mental prayer is the doorway to all of the upper levels of prayer, not vocal prayer. And for me, that was one reason why I fell in love with the Latin Mass as well, because, there's a lot more vocal prayer in a Novus Ordo.
Mhm.
There's a lot more meditation in a Latin
Mhm.
Mass. And it's through that meditation that you experience the presence of God, like you were saying.
Yeah, and you develop that personal relationship. It's almost as if you and God are the only ones in the room.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so hard to even quantify. Like, what kind of Catholic would you be if you didn't have that?
Mhm.
I don't even know. Who wouldn't want that?
Yeah. I don't know.
You know? I mean, and there's of course many different expressions of our faith, and there's 23 rites in the East as well, that are also beautiful and reverent. So there's different expressions, but I really appreciate you sharing that witness with us, because I think that it's very clear, especially if you just look at the statistics of it, that young adults, people our age and younger, are really, really gravitating to it,
I've heard that. Yeah.
like big
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
It's all the rage. And so I think it's just because of the timelessness of it.
And I think it kind of goes back to what we were talking about, the overcomplication of things. I think that the traditional Latin Mass isn't overcomplicated. It's just exactly what it was years ago. So people are craving that simplicity again.
Right, right. And the vocations are up, baptisms, all the sacraments, the amount of children, it's the children are our future. And so this is cool. I'm glad that we get to share this and connect it to what you're doing, because who knows, maybe some students or families can see something like this, and then if they've never experienced one before, maybe they will.
Mhm.
Like, what would you say to somebody that's never gone before, to maybe alleviate the culture shock or whatever?
I think it's just whether or not you choose to attend again. I think it's definitely something that is worth a trip. I think it's just an experience that you just can't ever forget it. I feel like going to Latin Mass, it's not your average mass, so you wouldn't easily forget it.
Some call it extraordinary.
Yes, yeah, yeah, that's true.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would say it is. Yeah, and actually, to the point of whether or not you ever go again, I think that's retention initially is can be a challenge if it's not something that people feel called to, because it's like, oh, it's in Latin, it's not the language I speak, I don't
Mhm.
understand it. When you temper that with the theological reality that, yeah, but God is transcendent,
Right.
right? Like he's the Almighty. There's a veil there, and the veil allows for mystery. And if you allow mystery to be a part of your relationship, that's a healthy thing.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And so if you go and without control,
Yeah.
without like preconceived expectations, and you give it, I don't know, say 9 times, where you may not be able to follow along exactly what's going on with it.
Mhm.
That changes.
Mhm.
That changes like fairly quickly,
Yeah, no,
but it
I
takes more than once.
I look forward to it on Sundays. I look forward to the mass. It's just so beautiful. It's just quiet and everyone's listening and respectful. And it's just a calm place to be.
Yeah, yeah. That's, I think, one of my favorite things about a Latin Mass as well, because, and not to get too much into theology now,
Mhm.
because I want to keep with this simplicity theme, but there's a thing called the general instruction of the Roman Missal, and it basically informs the liturgical norms and the things that are, that should be taking place. And to me, like I'm a big fan of St. Augustine's definition of peace, which is the tranquility of order.
Mhm.
And there's order when you follow the order of something like what's in the germ, GIRM, it brings that peace. And, one of the things that's in the general instruction is that right after a mass, wherever the mass is, it's supposed to be quiet,
Mm.
because for 15 minutes after receiving the Eucharist, Jesus is present
Mm.
within you, like physically,
Mhm.
not just spiritually. And that's supposed to be a time of quiet for those who want to continue the prayer even after the mass is over. And, it just seems like there's a an orderliness to um, traditional MS communities. I've been all over the country. I've seen Latin Mass in many states, and it's consistent.
Yeah.
So there's something about the way that the spirituality informs people that it's just like they're in tune.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, I resonate with that with you. So yeah, how do you take something like that into your everyday in terms of the way that you just teach? You probably don't explain all that stuff to like
No.
fourth or fifth
Yeah.
graders, but
I just think again it goes back to that sense of calm and peace, and it's just that abyss, or is abyss the word?
tranquility.
Tranquility. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, that tranquility in the Latin Mass, definitely.
Yeah. So it's almost like you can go get recharged
Mhm.
with your relationship with God,
Yeah.
and then that flows through
Yes.
your relationships with everybody else.
Yes. Yeah. It's so nice. It definitely is super nice. I'm one of those people that loves Mondays. Love Mondays. Don't like Tuesday or Wednesdays, but I love Mondays because I had just gone to mass and I can restart my day, and I just get so excited on Sunday nights to restart on Monday.
Yes. Maybe a daily mass.
It would be so nice, but I have to work too early, so it's hard to get there, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's
no
okay.
doubt. No doubt, no doubt. Yeah, it's a challenging thing for certain states in life to do, but definitely one of the greatest things that you could ever do for
And I
anybody.
think, there's been times when I try to go to, like, a daily evening mass, and you can sometimes go through the mass, on autopilot, and but it doesn't really hit you until you're on your way home or later in the evening, that just it all kind of, like, you feel more peace out of nowhere. Like, you just kinda feel like you have dotted your I's and crossed your T's for the day just by going to mass. Not saying that, like, if you don't go, you're not going to feel that, but it just kind of adds to that.
And it just comes down to a right faith, right?
Mhm.
Because our faith informs us that God is truly present in the Eucharist. I just think that's an important thing to point out, if in case anybody, for some reason, is a part of this conversation and doesn't know that in
Mhm.
relationship to what we're talking about here. It's and that's something that you can choose. For some people, getting into the weeds of the theology of it is important, but for other people there's just a childlike simplicity and trust that comes with saying, yeah, the Gospel of John chapter 6 said so, and that's good enough for me. Like
Yeah.
this is God. I really appreciate you sharing, your story with me. I guess I'm wondering, like, what do you think comes down the pipe, or what is it that you hope to actualize with this more renewed sense of boldness, this sense of, it sounds like, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like there's like a newer embracing of the
Yeah.
single life.
Yeah.
Does that sound accurate?
Definitely.
So yeah, like,
Yeah.
so what do you think? What do you think comes next? What does that mean? I know you says I'm still learning and figuring certain things out here, but it sounds like in some sense you have figured a lot out, and it's already brought a profound
Well,
sense of
I think a
peace.
lot of it has to do with forgiveness too, right? So
Mm,
I struggled with that a lot, just with forgiving myself over the simple things, right? But God wants us to love ourselves. And I think just knowing that I'm loved by a God that created the world and has a plan for me is helpful to remember as well. And just loving my life, like just enjoying life, like waking up and drinking coffee and reading a book and just going outside and gardening and just living your life to the fullest. But also knowing that like God is allowing you to, because sometimes I would worry like if I do the right thing or say the right thing or don't do this or don't do that, but like that's just like putting boundaries on God almost and just not fully living in his love. I think the more I learn to trust in his love and that he does have what's out there, he has good for me, is helpful.
I think that's wisdom that we can all carry in our lives.
Sure.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And what's next in the teaching world? Is there anything new that's been going on with that lately? Any changes or any new focuses for the new school year?
Just to keep trying to be the best I can.
Well, Whitney, I really appreciate you coming on.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, 100%. Is there anything else that you could think of that that we didn't touch on, or any wisdom that you would like to share?
Just trusting in God, that God really has what's best for you, and doing everything in charity. That's something that's just been on my mind this year. There's just so much depth to what charity as a virtue actually means. And I think if I just continue learning about that, I think there's a lot of treasure chests that could be open. Just learning that and how to be charitable in your life, because I think it leads back to gratitude, right? So if you're charitable, you're doing something for God, right? Instead of just for your neighbor who lives next door. But you're doing it because he's God's child. And so that just brings more joy out of it. And it spreads throughout your world, right? Your community.
Oh, it's like paying it forward in a certain sense. Yeah. The definition of charity is love of God and love of neighbor for the sake of God. Mm-hmm. And that is precisely what you just described. And yeah, it's the greatest of the virtues.
And it's the hardest one. It's hard. It's hard because you want to put yourself out there in front of that, right? You want to be selfish, just humanly. But you just get so much more out of it. I heard someone say once that we were supposed to be the hand and feet of Christ. And I never really grasped that until this year. And I think if we try to live our lives like we are, it just leads all back to relationship, right? We all want to make it to heaven. And so our job should be to help each other get there, even in the simplest ways, you know?
Yeah. Praise be to God. I mean, charity is the form of the virtues. Mm-hmm. So every single virtue is ultimately rolls up into charity if we allow it. Mm-hmm. If we allow it.
Yeah, you have to allow it. Definitely.
Yeah. Love of God. Yeah. Love of God is the vertical. Love of neighbor is the horizontal. Boom. Get the cross. Mm-hmm. Christ at the center. And it's supernatural.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. This is not something that you just read a book about and take a seminar on. Like you actually have to ask for the grace of that.
Yeah.
And try to every day.
100%. It's not a natural virtue. It's a supernatural virtue. Yeah. And it's, of course, it's read at a lot of weddings, but it should never, ever be perceived as cliche. Like St. Paul in 1 Corinthians 13, right? He says, you could have enough faith to speak angelic tongues, to move mountains, to do all of these tremendous, incredible things. And you can have this hope, but if you don't have charity, you're a clashing gong. Mm-hmm. It says nothing. Like, so you can have, and it's almost like faith is like head knowledge sometimes. It's like you can have all of these understandings and realities in check, but then charity's in the heart, mm-hmm. And it's Saint Teresa of Calcutta, Mother Teresa, she's famously said, the greatest journey for mankind is from the head to the heart.
Oh, I like that.
It's so true. It's so true. It's, you need to have all of it, but interestingly enough, if and when by God's grace we make it to our final destination, eternal beatitude in heaven, we won't even have faith anymore.
Mm.
We won't even have hope because you don't need it.
Right. Right.
Faith is like a trust in something yet to be attained.
Yeah.
Hope, you're hoping in something you don't have.
Yeah.
So these will fall away, but charity always remains.
Yeah. And I think that's so beautiful. Like it just never ends, right? God's love for us never ends,
Yeah.
which is something to dwell on, right? And meditate on.
Amen. Well, that's as good a parting wisdom as any I could think of. So I really appreciate you sharing, Whitney. Thank you so much again for coming on. I'm excited to see what God has in store in your life.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, 100%. And, and your children are very blessed to have you. We pray for all the schools, all educators, all those who are educated by God's grace. May they get the fullness of education, the faith based, call us biased, call us whatever you want. But, like you said, there is a joy that truly, truly comes from living that charity. It's the root fruit as well, from which all the other 11 fruits come from. And I just thank you so much for giving these kids, the real deal.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the gift God has given me.
Amen. Amen. Well, we thank you so much for joining us today on this journey. If you'd like to interact more, you can sign up for some life coaching at therichdawn.com. That's therichdawn.com. Please like, share, subscribe, comment below. Let us know how we did. Let us know what you'd like to hear more about. And we thank you so much for your support. God bless you.